It is currently one day before my first midterm, so I figured I'd take you on a little day in the life vlog to show you, how the world's most efficient student prepares for midterms.
My name is Katkov, and welcome to the A's in an Hour series. I think it's possible to get straight A's in university while only studying an hour a day. I thought it would be really cool to make a brand that I wish I had as a resource in my freshman year of university. Previously, I've shown students how to get A's in just 2 hours a day, but I wanted more. I know it can be better.
All right, what is going on? So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Katkov. I'm the founder of UofTearless, UofTearless.com. And we help students optimize their learning by giving them more efficient study systems and helping them implement psychological tactics into their studying that are not gimmicks. So we actually help them improve their grades by using psychological principles based on research that I've done, based on everything that I'm learning in school. And my goal is to become the most efficient student on earth. Back in 2024, I went from my lowest grade ever, a 37%, to the top 4% of all first-year students in my program while only studying 2 hours a day. And that is what I've shown you previously in other videos, is how I did that. But now I want to cut it down to 1 hour per day. So it is February 9th, 2026, 5:14 a.m. and we are just cruising through the morning. Woke up early, felt great, and I have practiced in a little bit. So let's start the video. Let's walk you through everything that I do. I promise you, by the end of this, you will become a much more efficient student. So I have class today, but I have practice first, and I have to have breakfast. So the first thing I do every morning, I'm just gonna prop you guys up here, is I have this stuff called Mio, which is an electrolyte, like squirt something or other, and I have a big glass of water. So I basically just try to get hydrated as quickly as possible, because that will pretty much set your brain ready for the rest of the day. But if you try to think when you're dehydrated, it's going to be no good. So you will see from start to finish every single thing that I do. The first thing that I actually did when I got up was I took a poop, and I was doing Anki. So I will put the screen recording here or something, and it'll be like a time lapse, because I'm not going to show you when I'm pooping. That's pretty much the only thing where I would want some boundaries. But other than that, you and I are going to be going along for the whole day. So I'm going to chug this, and then I'm going to get to work, do some administrative tasks. I have a little bit of time before practice, so I like to do some sort of work, but I don't necessarily need to do any deep work right now. So I'm going to do some like uploading, waiting for downloads to happen, and then I also need to do my breath work, which I always do every morning before practice, to also get my lungs ready for being brutalized. I have a little bit of a cough from a couple of days ago, just because we did a really hard it's like sprints competition on the indoor rowing machine. I actually ended up placing second in the lightweight category and sixth overall, so I was very happy with that, considering that I was deadly sick like 2.5 weeks ago. So it seems like I'm getting back to regular fitness, and I'm very excited. So today we have a 4 by 3.2K, which is going to be brutal, but it's going to be all right. And then we can go have breakfast at the dining hall. So I also have my assorted vitamins. This one is iron, and then we also have L-theanine, which is for the brain. And then last but not least, my ADHD medication. I will have all of that with, oh no, I'm out. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get some more from the kitchen. Okay, we're back. I got more. So now you guys can see what it looks like. Some nice deep orange here. All right, so vitamins are taken. I'm going to have a little bit of breakfast and sit in my massage chair for a little bit, and then I'm going to get to work. While I wait for my stuff to upload, just uploading a couple things to Google Drive and then uploading a video for tomorrow to YouTube, so I just have to wait. I'm going to do my breathing exercises, and nobody has actually ever seen me do this, but I'll show you what it looks like. So I have this app. This is called AeroFit, not sponsored in any way. This is just something I've been using for the past couple of years. And I have managed to increase my lung capacity by about 1.5 liters, which is really, really good. So you have this device thing, and basically you breathe into it and it trains your diaphragm. So basically it just means you can take in more oxygen per breath and faster if you need to, and you won't get as fatigued over time. So with rowing, that's really helpful because I'm taking 2 breaths every stroke, and I need to make sure that I do not get fatigued. And if my lungs can't keep up with my body, then that's a problem. So I'm not going to make you sit through all of this, but there's a song that I listen to when I'm walking around in the morning, which just kind of relaxes me. So I have the noise canceling headphones on, and I'm going to send that to Nigel. Nigel put the song in the background of this, so I'll send you the link for it. Play that while I'm doing this. So that was fairly difficult, but that's over for the day now. So that's another thing off the to-do list. And I'll also show you what is on my to-do list. So you can see here I have a lot of different things, but the important thing, so these are the things that get done before practice, and then there's practice, and then there's everything I do for the business, my secondary for rowing, and then make flashcards and study. Those 2 don't have check marks because those 2 aren't done every single day. So the rest of it's done every single day. So if you're ever wondering what does Simon's need to do's versus want to do's look like, this is it. These are the need to do's, everything with the check mark. The want to do's, those are the things that should get done today, but they don't necessarily need to get done today. Studying, that is going to get done today, and I'm actually going to show you exactly. So my midterm is tomorrow. I haven't started studying, but I'm going to show you how to study for your midterm in 48 hours and actually like learn so much. So I do all the flashcards as you've seen in the screen recording that I took while I was pooping. Those flashcards I do every single day. Not all of those are done every single day, but like I do flashcards every single day. I just do whatever it assigns me, and that's how I memorize all of the content, and then to put it into, I guess, a good mental framework, help build the connecting nodes. I do practice questions for that, but I will show you, I do it in a certain way and I use a certain tool. But for now, I'm going to go have breakfast because I am hungry, and I don't like to eat before I do this thing because then food might get in here and it's kind of gross. So yeah, I always do this before eating. And then, yeah, after that, I just have a little bit more work to do. I think I'm going to practice piano before I head out to practice, and then we're off to practice. So pretty busy morning as a day in the life of the world's most efficient student. A lot of preparation, a lot of planning goes into every single day so that I can study as little time as possible. So the goal is to study for less than an hour a day, and in previous videos I've shown you guys how I study 2 hours a day, but the goal is to try to cut that down as much as possible. So where I stand right now, I have a midterm on Tuesday, I have a midterm on Thursday. It is currently Monday, and after those 2 midterms and a couple of projects, I will pretty much be 75% done with the semester. So we're doing really, really well. And reading week is after that. So reading week is in Canada, we basically get a week to do school. No classes, no nothing, but it's kind of weird that it's after midterms, because usually they used to do it where we would have reading week and then we could prepare for midterms. But I guess this year and the past couple of years, they were like, nah, we don't do that anymore. So we just hate you guys, and you guys have to suck it up and deal with it. So yeah, but either way, midterms will be done, and then I can pretty much just work on a ton of stuff over the break. My goal is to be done with everything by the end of the break so that I only have to study for finals, and that's pretty much it. And that will definitely be less than an hour a day by then. So stay tuned because I'm going to show you. So today is all about showing you how I manage my time, showing you how to become very efficient throughout the day. I've already shown you how to study really efficiently. This is how to be an efficient student. And the next vlog will cover even more stuff that you didn't think of. So I promise you, it is worth your while to keep watching. Let's get it. All right, what's going on, y'all? We're back. So we are having a PB&J and 2 bananas and pre-workout. So this is going to be my breakfast for the morning. It's what I usually have, depending on whether I have eggs or not. If I have eggs, I will usually have rice and eggs with soy sauce, but today we don't have any, so we're just going to make do. Yeah, and these bananas, they need to be eaten anyway. So that is going to be my breakfast for today, and then I'm going to head over to practice. So I have this. It is currently 7:29. I decided to take the second shift today just so I could get a little bit more work done, a little bit more uploading done. Yeah, and hopefully practice piano before I leave. And then, yeah, so I'm going to take this probably at 8. This second shift starts at 8:15, and I'm going to run over as part of my warm-up. So it's going to be pretty good. It's going to be a good day. Yeah, I don't know why, but I always use the same knife for everything, and like the same fork and the same spoon for literally everything. Even though I have a lot, like I just like to use the same thing. And I always like put the stuff away before I start eating. I'm not sure how many people do that, but to me, I like can't eat unless I've completely put away everything else and it's clean. And so like I have a clean mind. Boom, done. Alrighty, y'all. So we actually just got out of the dining hall. I pretty much just spent the whole time working on the video. I didn't do any studying yet, but that's okay because we are actually not going to class, because instead I am going to go to the library, gonna lock in for about 2 more hours. So I spent 4 hours editing that video, gonna lock in for 2 hours, and then I'm gonna hit a secondary, and then I'm probably going to do some more work when I get home later around 7 p.m.-ish until about 9, something like that. And then tomorrow morning, depending on how much I got done, I will see whether I'm going to go to morning lift or not, because my exam is at 10 a.m. So I want to make sure I have ample time for that. So we're headed to the library right now. Let's get it. Wow, it is cold outside. So this actually might be a bit of a controversial take, but I don't believe that lectures are worth going to unless there is a grade that you have, unless there's, you know, some reason for you to be there, like a project is being assigned or something. So yeah, but other than that, I don't really think it's worth it. You can learn a lot faster than they teach you. So I am actually going to the building, but I'm not going to go to class. All right, so I actually didn't end up skipping class, and the reason is because I had a few assignments that I had to complete in terms of peer review feedback for presentations that were happening in class, as well as writing a couple of summaries for readings that we had to do for class today. So what I've done here, and I'm trying to make the most out of the time in class, is I've put all of my lectures into a Google Gemini prompt, as well as the sample test and the sample test key. And the reason for this is because I want to generate practice exams that are going to help me prepare for the exam to the best of my abilities. So I've also put all of the information from the syllabus, and you can see I'm writing my own prompt here, which is based on this information. Generate me 2 full-length practice exams that will best predict the questions that will come up on the exam, help me prepare to the best of my ability. So while I wait for this to load, I will explain to you why I think that 2 practice exams is optimal. So the reason for this is because 1 practice exam is not going to cover all of the information. 2 covers most of the information. 3 tends to get a little repetitive, and I will only do that if I have a ton of time. So right now, you can see that I have the practice exams. It says practice exam 1, section 1, basic facts, 11 questions, 24 points, that sort of thing. And I'm just kind of reading through these to get the feel of how the questions are going to be asked on the exam, like what types of things I would need to know. But I also realized that I did not ask it for the answers. So part of this is that I want to associate the answers with the questions, not just have the questions, because obviously you need the feedback to know if it's correct. So I'm typing right here just to give me the answers as well, you know, making it look like I'm paying attention in class.
You know, me smiling at people just so the professor doesn't know I'm doing this, but this is definitely a better use of my time. I told you I'd show you guys everything. So I wrote, now give me the answer key so I can check my answers. So now I have asked it to write it all together where the question is asked and the answer is presented right under the question. That way I don't have to flip back between all the pages. So now you can see this is the arrangement that I like, that I use to study for my exams, and I will just go through and read them and quiz myself from time to time. But the first thing I do is just read it all the way through, and then the second time I will go through and review the questions and try to generate the answers myself, as you will see later in the video when I show you exactly how I study all the way through in real time in a study along with me section. So get pumped for that, but right now I'm just explaining what I was doing. And now I need to go do my secondary workout for the day.
Okay, so class just ended. We are on our way to the gym. I'm about to do my secondary workout. Lysander has been there for a while. I have no idea if he's still doing it or not. So that's where I'm headed now. It's only like a couple block run, which I guess is good. Get a little warm up in. So as you saw, I ended up going to class. Ended up doing work in it because I realized that I actually had a lot of assignments to do in that class. Like I can't just skip. Even though there's no attendance, they're like reading checks and you have to give feedback on people's discussions. So I had to do that anyway. Okay, here we are. Okay, let's hope we're not too late. All right, we're on the move. They don't call me the cookie cruncher for no reason. Pre-workout snack. Yo, he's here. Yo, what up? All right, so we just finished up the workout and now we are about to run home. It was pretty good. All in all, a good day today. It is currently 6:32 p.m. So I'm gonna go home, have some dinner and then get straight to studying because we are going to keep doing some more practice questions for the exam. Honestly, I feel pretty ready. I don't think I need to do much practicing, but just because I've only done mainly flashcards, I want to do at least a couple of practice exams. Yeah, then I should be good. So I think I will make it to lift tomorrow. But yeah, so I'll talk to you guys when I get home. I'm gonna start running. Let's go. Oh yeah, a lot of snow tonight. It's steep. Hard to run in snow. Home, sweet home. Oh, it is cold. But I always end up overheating when I'm on my way over or anywhere. So I'm always perfectly fine for the first I don't know, maybe like most of the blocks until like the last two, and then I just overheat like crazy. So I don't know, but yeah, I am hungry. I'm gonna have my post-workout cookie because you know that I'm the cookie cruncher, and then it is time to study. But I wonder if Aryan's home. Let's see. Nope, nobody's home. Nice little living room setup. We added some decor. Now it doesn't look empty. Nice little erg here. Got the hashtag never be down. And there's the bike. But enough jibber jabber. It is dinner time. Actually, I gotta take a shower first and then it's dinner time. Oh wait, I just realized. Yo, I can put you guys in this hook. Now you can see me. Whoa, that's such a good angle. Okay, this is literally, I'm gonna show you what this is. This is funny. Okay, look at this. It's my drying rack, but I just put you in the two hooks here. Perfect angles. Now I can talk to you while I'm debriefing or unpacking from the day. Yeah, all in all, pretty solid day. I honestly didn't do that much work for school, but I did a lot of work for the video. I did a lot of work for preparation for this, to edit this and uploading and that sort of thing. I posted a video on YouTube today, posted the A's in an Hour video 3, so this is video 4, but I posted the third video just like a few hours ago. You know it's time for the post-workout cookie.
It's a little cold. It's a little stiff, I'm not gonna lie. But still delicious. Still the cookie cruncher. Oh yeah. So tomorrow, no practice in the morning. We have lift, and I have a secondary in the afternoon. But tomorrow's a pretty busy day. Tomorrow I have lift, midterm, straight to a lab. And then by then it's 4 p.m. And so I'm pretty much stacked from 8 to 4. And then after 4, I go straight to my secondary. So I'm not done until like 6. So it's like 8 to 6 p.m. And then I can study a little bit for my midterm on Thursday. Pretty stacked week. But on Friday, everything finally starts to chill out. And I'm going home, I believe, on Friday. So, because it's reading week, and that means I can go home to Paris and see my family, or my parents. My brother lives in Vermont, but I can see my parents, my dog. It's gonna be good, and I'm gonna try to blast out the rest of the semester. So my teachers were like, "Yo, we're halfway done," and I was like, "That's pretty crazy," because I'm only 70% done with the semester, so we're not quite halfway done actually, but we're getting pretty close. So I'm losing my lead. I'm only 10% ahead now. So I need to get on it. I need to try to crank out that other 30%. I can pretty much do everything except for the group projects because I don't even know my group mates for one of my classes. But for one of my classes, the lab, I can pretty much crank that out except for the getting the actual data. That is something that we're all going to do together, so I can't go ahead in that. But I already did the research. I found 10 articles that we're going to use for to help us design the experiment. We basically need to create a psychology experiment that will test memory. That's all for now. I'm going to go head into the shower after I finish unpacking and polishing off this cookie. And then it's time to study. I'm going to show you exactly how the world's most efficient student studies for an exam in like 3 hours. Let's get it. Okay, so if you remember, I told you that I was going to tell you everything I do to be efficient. So that includes this right now. So right now, I have my phone plugged in right here, and we're going to upload all of the footage that we got for the day while I am going into the shower, so that when I come out, it will be uploaded and I won't have to wait a ton of time to make sure that it's uploaded. So I'm going to upload all of these, just drag and drop them onto my desktop, wait for them to, you can tell us, oh, actually, this is going to take too long. So maybe I will wait for these and then I will upload them to Google Drive because I realize it's not going to take too long. I have ADHD, so you can count on the fact that I'm going to find the absolute quickest way to do like anything with the least amount of effort. What I'm really good at is figuring out which thing to put on the back burner while I do one other thing, so that when I come back, it's done. And that this is just one of those things. You upload, go. It might seem so like natural, like so obvious, but a lot of people don't do this. And the little things stack up a lot throughout the day, throughout the week. I've put so many things on the back burner. I have sent things to people first thing in the morning because I know it's going to take them a while to respond, and I can get a lot of work done in between that time. Instead of waiting around to make progress, I just go work on something else. So it's basically like juggling a ton of things at once. That is efficiency. It's just, doing what you can with the tools and the knowledge that you have at the time, and then trying to do that as fast as possible and trying to decrease the amount of bleed time that you have. So transitions between different activities, that is something that's very difficult to do. That can take hours of your day, right? Let's say you take 15 minutes transitioning between 6 activities. Well, you just lost an hour and a half of your day. You're wondering where the day went. Instead of 1 p.m., it's 2:30 and you have class at 3. Like, you would have had 2 hours to study, and now you don't have enough time to study because it's only 30 minutes. It takes 15 minutes to walk to your class. Where did that time go? I'm sure that happens to you guys all the time. So this is something to be aware of and to make sure that you don't end up sacrificing a lot of time, a lot of valuable time that you could be having. Okay, so I'm about to upload all this footy. We'll see how much, how long it's supposed to take. So let's see, I did up until 4. So here, log 5 and up, everything here. Let's see, total time. Okay, so that gives me like 15 minutes to shower basically. So now pretty much as long as my PC does not turn off, we're good to go. So I'm gonna hop in the shower. I'll see you guys afterwards for dinner and studying. Alrighty, y'all, we are back with dinner. Take a look at this monstrosity. We have a big boom boom bowl of ramen, and it is going to be fantastic. So while I'm waiting for this to upload, because my computer shut off while it was uploading, this is not actually going to take 3 hours. See, it's just going by like a minute at a time. But it just does that. It like miscalculates. So I'm going to do that, or I'm going to wait for that to download while I watch Netflix. Which show, you may ask? This is not the most efficient student on earth. Well, it doesn't mean anything if you can't actually enjoy your life. So I'm going to be watching a little bit of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is going to be super fun. So I will see you guys after this, once I've eaten, once I've enjoyed life a little bit. And it is currently 8:08 p.m. So I think around 8:30 we will start this study with me. Hopefully you are not studying this late, but yeah, so I'll study till like 9:30, get up early, maybe do one more practice exam, and then go to lift, crush it, and just be cool. Because this is my last round of exams, which is actually kind of weird to say, but this is literally like I have this one and then one more, and then I will never have to take a midterm again. I'm so happy. See ya. All right, so we are now getting into the study with me section. This study with me section is going to be 40 minutes long, so prepare enough time to do this with me. If you want to study with me, then I highly recommend, if you're not studying for this psych class, that you can just put it on mute. You can watch me, but I would not get distracted by like inhibiting your ability to think by listening to me speak. So you can put me over there, you will see me studying, and you can just put it on mute while you study. And if you ever get unmotivated, then just look over to the side and be like, well, Simon's studying, I gotta study. Here's the timer. This is how much time I had. You know, this is how long I did it for. So yeah, 40 minutes, set it aside. I guarantee you can learn so much in 40 minutes. So even if you just make practice questions for, say, a couple of lectures, then you will still learn all those lectures within 40 minutes. I'm going to show you how. It is currently 9:05. Took a little bit longer than I thought, but that's okay because my friend called me, so we were just chatting and, you know, having a good time. But it is now time to study. So let us lock in here. I'm going to put up on screen right here the Gemini screen so that you guys can see. And basically what I've done is I've created 2 practice exams that have that are the questions that are most likely to show up on the exam, which you saw me prompt in the part where I was, you know, going through it in class. So let's get through it. And yeah, tomorrow I will probably also do another run through of this, plus the full 1-hour pre-exam protocol, which I've outlined for you guys in the PDF right here that you can find in the link in the description. Just go to UofTearless.com and it will help you prepare for your exams, along with a bunch of other resources that I personally have created to solve problems that I had and now want to gift to you to use. So without further ado, let us start studying. So this is now the first practice exam. So name the 3 sensory regions of the modal model of memory. Okay, that would be the iconic, the echoic, and haptic. It's right there on the screen. What I do first is I go through all of them, look at the answers, and then I will go then quiz myself afterwards. So I like to go through them, kind of repeat stuff. So iconic, echoic, and haptic. Haptic is the one that I'm not going to know as well. That's touch. So haptic, I will touch something. Haptic. Maybe I'll draw an H on the back of my hand like a helicopter. for haptic. Okay, so iconic, I know that's visual. Echoic, that's obviously auditory because echo. So haptic, those are the three sensory registers in the model of memory. What are the two main dependent measures used in memory research? That would be accuracy and speed. Accuracy and latency, so reaction time. Okay, I guess it depends on what they want, but if they want latency, I should put latency. So I am late to school quite often, so that is, I'm fairly accurate, but I'm not always on time. That's okay. Define savings as proposed by Ebbinghaus. I believe that is how much faster you will relearn something the second time. The reduction in the number of trials or time required to relearn a list compared to the original learner. Yes, okay, even if you completely forget the whole thing. So, all right, that's number 3. Number 4, list the 4 lobes of the cerebral cortex. Parietal, occipital, temporal. What's the last one? Frontal. Oh, okay. Wow. Is there an acronym that I need for this, or can I just remember that? I can probably just remember that. I'll just remember front to back to ear. What is the typical capacity of memory duration? Oh, that's 7 plus or minus 2. Or 4 chunks. Interesting. Okay, why is that? Oh, because that's Cowan's model. Okay, duration 15 to 30 seconds. Without rehearsal. All right, we can remember that. Brain region primarily responsible for the non-conscious aspect of fear. Yeah, that's the amygdala. Distinguishing between a hit or false alarm. A hit would be, I'm just gonna do this with my eyes closed so I can't see the answer. Confirming something that's already there. A false alarm would be confirming something or saying something's there when it's not actually present. Yes, okay. List 3 types of short-term memory tasks and their specific type of memory, and the specific type of memory each measures. Okay. Digit span is verbal. Corsi span is spatial. And something else, auditory, be auditory. Digit span, spatial span, Corsi span, visual span. Oh, I knew that. Okay, I did not know that. Visual span. Yes, okay, that's on one of my flashcards, but I did not know it well enough to get it right on the exam, so I will mark that wrong. Come back to number 8. Okay. Visual span, visual short-term memory. That's easy to remember, though, in terms of visual. What is the Pollyanna principle regarding emotional memory? I believe that is more likely to remember positive emotions rather than negative ones, and more accurately. Remember pleasant, more accurately. Yeah, okay. Define proactive interference. That is when old stuff inhibits new learning. Interferes with the learning. Yes, okay. What is the difference between a liberal and a conservative responder? Liberal responder has a low threshold for saying yes. Conservative responder, yeah, okay. And the threshold is, let's see, D is discriminability, so B prime is the point at which somebody will say that they can discriminate a difference. Yes. Okay, that's the threshold, yeah, okay. Section 2, explain the dual coding theory and how it accounts for the picture superiority effect. Okay. Dual encoding, that is when multiple senses, so usually like hearing and seeing, but the picture effect, I'm assuming that includes visual memory. Pictures are remembered better because they're automatically coded both visually and verbally. Right, because you have to have an articulation of the image implicitly. Okay, so that makes sense. I can do that. Contrast synaptic consolidation with systems consolidation in terms of time scale and brain involvement. Okay. Synaptic consolidation is at the neural level, it is rapid and Yeah. Systems consolidation is slower, and it is the rearranging of structures over time, starting in the hippocampus and moving to the neocortex. Or the cortex. Involves local changes. Okay, synaptic is local changes. Memory trace, reorganization of the memory trace across brain regions, brain structures. Okay, we'll come back to that one too. Describe Cowan's embedded model or process model and how it defines the focus of attention. So Cowan's model is there's nothing but long-term memory. Attention is a spotlight that creates, that when it's directed at something, creates working memory and it inhibits everything else. Active formation, about 4 items. Yeah, that's under voluntary control. Okay, I have to remember that it's 4 items. Explain Engel's inhibitory control theory and its relationship to working memory. I don't know that one. Working memory capacity is not about storage space, but about the controlled attention. Wait. Limited subset of the activated information. Oh, okay, so these two are different. It is the ability to maintain goal-relevant information while actively inhibiting distracting or irrelevant information. Okay, this is Engel's theory. And that one is, yeah, I have a flashcard on Engel's theory. I'll see it tomorrow morning, so it shouldn't be too bad. Okay, number 3. Experiments, evidence. All right, let's do this. Explain the logic and finding of Sternberg's additional factors experiment. What did the results reveal about the search process in short-term memory? Sternberg's experiment was a cluster experiment where he wanted to measure the effect of how long it would take to remember something, an item in a list, if you kept adding more, and how much more processing time it would take. That is the it's cluster. Yeah, I already said that. What was the other part of the question? What did the results reveal about the search process in short-term memory? That the longer it takes to remember something, the less closely related they are semantically in your mind. Okay, procedure. Participants memorize a set of digits 1 to 6 and were then shown a probe. Sternberg used additional factors logic. Okay. That's what I need to remember to see if RT increased with set size. Finding, RT increased linearly with set size. Crucially, the slope for yes or no trials was the same. Interference. This reveals a serial exhaustive search. We check items one by one, serial, and check the entire set even after a match is found. Exhaustive. So let's feel about the search process in short-term memory. Interesting. Okay, that is definitely something I'm going to have to review tomorrow morning. Discuss the research on artificial grammar learning. Discuss the typical procedure findings and what the participants likely learned. Okay, artificial grammar, they had participants read a paragraph that made no sense, and then they tested them for if words fit, like they could still understand grammar implicitly, but it did not affect explicit memory. More repetitions did not affect explicit memory. They still couldn't get it. They still couldn't say it. Some things were easy enough because they were so repetitive, but other than that, no. But implicit memory, pattern recognition still has an effect, even though the text is nonsensical words, just with a grammatical rule structure, and they couldn't recite the grammatical rules, but they could tell which words were supposed to be there. Okay. Implicit groups memorize legal strings. Explicit groups tried to derive rules. At tests, they clarify the new strings or legal rules. Okay. Finding the implicit group often outperforms the explicit group and can transfer the grammar to new letters. Right, I forgot about that step. They can transfer it. Interference. Participants aren't learning abstract, complex rules. They're likely learning pattern combinations or bigrams, which sounds / letters usually follow others. Okay. Okay. Provide experimental evidence for the phonological loop. Okay, I'm going to come back to all of these. The phonological loop, describe the word length effect and how articulatory suppression influences it. Okay. Phonological loop. You're going to have to encode things on a shallow and deep level. So semantic, cognitive versus perspective, or deep versus shallow, which would basically just be semantic or repetition. Semantic is based on meaning, that's cognitive. Repetition is perspective, and that's based on repetition. So, what was the question? Provide experimental evidence for the phonological. Okay, I don't remember what the study was called, but I remember how it went. They were tested on these words, and then they were asked to recall them. So let's see. Evidence. The word length effect shows memory span is lower for long words than short words because long words take longer to rehearse. Oh, okay, I did not know that. Oh, this is strictly for the phonological loop, so mental rehearsal. When participants perform articulatory suppression, the word length effect disappears because the ability to subvocally rehearse is blocked. Okay, that I can remember, but I need to remember the word length effect more specifically. Okay, next, let's move on. This is the second exam. What are the 3 stages of skill acquisition? That would be cognitive stage, associative stage, and cognitive, associative. I don't know. Autonomous. So easy. One of my flashcards. Define perceptual learning, perceptual priming versus conceptual priming. Okay. Perceptual priming is based on repetition and shallow encoding, basically how the things look. Conceptual priming is not cognitive priming. Conceptual priming is based on meaning, semantic meaning. Yeah. Physical form feature versus semantic. Okay. Which subcortical structure is specialized for encoding co-occurring events? Oh, wow. The episodic buffer? The hippocampus. That one I need to know. What is the total time hypothesis and procedural memory? Oh, that one is the amount of time that you practice is proportional to how well you remember it. List the 4 components of Baddeley's most recent working memory model. Okay. Central executive, episodic buffer, phonological loop, visuospatial sketchpad. Easy. I could say what each one does too. What does MVPA stand for in brain imaging? No idea. Multi-voxel pattern analysis. Okay. I'll remember that if I review it. Name 2 methods used to measure electrical or magnetic fields in the brain. fMRI, CAT scan, MEG. Oh wow, I was wrong for both. EEG and MEG. Okay, define chunking and its effect on short-term memory. Okay, that is grouping or holding multiple things in working memory. Chunking is basically when you take multiple items and combine them into one slot, so it doesn't take as much memory as usual, and it increases working memory and short-term memory capacity. Single meaningful unit effectively increases capacity by making better use of the limited slots available. What is latent inhibition in classical conditioning? Latent inhibition. That is when the stimulus is repeatedly presented without the conditioned response, or the unconditioned stimulus. Familiar stimuli take longer. Oh, that was completely wrong. The phenomenon where a familiar stimulus takes longer to become a conditioned stimulus than a novel stimulus. Okay, so old stimuli are harder to attribute to something. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, so let's say I was getting like Taco Bell, and then I was fine forever, and then one day I got sick in like 10 years. I wouldn't think it was Taco Bell. I would think it's something else, even though it was Taco Bell. Is motivation more critical for explicit or implicit learning? Explicit. Yes. Implicit learning can occur without conscious motivation. That's true. Describe the mirror exposure effect. The mirror exposure effect is basically we tend to care more about things that we see more often. Develop a preference for a stimulus simply because you have been exposed to it repeatedly. Cool. Section 2, concepts and theories. Compare subtractive factors logic and additive factors logic. I cannot. Subtractive assumes you can isolate a mental process by subtracting the RT of a simple task from a more complex one. Task B minus A. Okay? Oh, right. Okay, so if there's one stimulus and the next one presented, you can subtract that one and the total time, or subtract the first one from the total time to see how much it took to get the first one. That I know. Okay, I'm also going to adjust this lighting here. Okay. Then we have additive factors. Manipulates the load of a stage to see if the stages occur in a serial or a parallel sequence based on the pattern of RT. I'm not entirely sure what that means. Manipulates the load of a stage to see if the stages occur in a serial or parallel sequence based on the pattern of RT increases. Oh, I think this is like if you had a serial position, so like if there was a certain number of items, you extended it, then you would expect the memory of the last items to shift further. It wouldn't affect the primacy effect, but it would affect the recency effect. Describe the role of the central executive in Baddeley's. Wait, let's go back to this one. Subtractive assumes you can isolate. Okay, you can. Yeah. Describe the role of the central executive in Baddeley's working memory and its similarity to SAS. SAS is used for autonomic, appropriate instances. So the central executive. Was it central executive? Yeah, central executive. That is responsible for attentional processes. So. And controlling attention. The attentional controller that coordinates the slave systems, like the supervisory attentional system, it intervenes when autonomic processing are insufficient. Oh, insufficient. It's insufficiency. That's where the connection was. Such as during task switching or conflict resolution. Okay, no problem. That one I will remember. Explain the binding problem. See, okay, so one of the best things is the fact that when you get things wrong, you will think about them more, and you will engage with them more, as opposed to just getting everything right and you'll be like, yeah, I'll know it on the test, blah, blah, blah. When you get things wrong, it's actually better and helps you remember them better. Explain the binding problem and how the episodic buffer was originally thought to solve it. The binding problem is we don't know, let's see, the episodic buffer. I'm not sure how to define the binding problem, but I know the episodic buffer was thought to bind, and we realized it doesn't, but it does influence memory. The binding problem is the question of how separate features, color, shape, sounds are combined into a single memory. Oh, okay, so it's binding information. The episodic buffer was proposed as a temporary store where information from different modalities is bound into coherent episodes. Okay, but that was, again, known not to be true. Okay, discuss the total time hypothesis and its limitations regarding deliberate practice. Okay, total time hypothesis states that the repetitions is correlated to how well you remember something. The problem is, according to Erickson, he proposed deliberate practice was what created an expert. And so if you don't practice deliberately, mere repetitions aren't enough. You can see that in the coin drawing study. You can see that in the, well, yeah, that was the main one. Yeah, it's not enough to just know something or see something enough. If you don't interact with it, you won't ever improve. Think about any room that you've been in, like a classroom you've been in every single week. Could you draw it from memory? No. The reason is because you didn't ever think that you were going to need to, so you didn't give it attention. Okay, that one's pretty good. I'm pretty solid with that one. Yeah, so the type of time matter practice is highly focused about immediate feedback at targeted weakness. Getting a little tired here. All right. Describe the experiment by Luck and Vogel regarding the capacity of the visuospatial sketchpad. Okay, that is a change detection task. I don't remember anything else. Procedures. Use a change detection task with objects of varying complexity. Accuracy was high for up to 4 objects, regardless of how many features the objects had. VSSP stores integrated objects. What was VSSP? Visual Spatial Sketchpad. Okay. Stores integrated objects, not individual features. Right, so it's objects, not features. And working memory capacity is limited to a number of 4. Okay, so basically, Luck and Vogel is determining how many items you can hold in working memory based on, or how many objects you can hold. Stores integrated objects, not individual features. Capacity is limited to the number of objects, not feature complexity. Okay, yeah. Discuss the evidence for the episodic buffer and binding. For the episodic buffer. I don't know that one. Tested if binding color and shape together required more attention/execution resources than remembering features alone. A secondary distractor task impaired memory for features and bound objects. Okay, so that would be like articulatory interference. That would be something like the let's see, that would be binding colors require more attention. Counting back, or distractor task, that's what it's called. The suggested binding is a passive resource and doesn't require a central executive. Okay, discuss the evidence of episodic buffer and binding. The episodic buffer, I don't know. Tested if binding, color, shape together require more. Okay, tested if binding was required more than remembering features alone. Secondary distractor task, binding is passive because it didn't require more. Explain the Woe and Norman study on forgotten short-term memory. Since your participants heard a list of 13 digits at either a fast or slow rate. Since your participants heard a list of 16 words. Findings. Presentation speed. Time had no effect on recall. However, recall drops as more items interference were placed between the target and the probe. Interference. Supported interference over decay as the primary cause of forgetting in short-term memory. Okay. Okay. I can remember that. Woe and Norman. All right. So now we've gone through all of these. I think for now, I'm actually okay. I'm going to go through the practice exam, the real practice exam, and see, but I can't show that now. Actually, maybe I'll just ask it to generate one more practice exam. Generate one more, because honestly, I know like pretty much all of this. I would probably get about a 70 on that. So the goal is not a 70 though. So I need to do at least 2 more. I'll do another practice one that's Gemini generated, and then one more that is the actual practice exam, and then I'll review all of it tomorrow, and it will be good to go. And then I'll cram in short-term memory using the 1 hour pre-exam protocol, and I will be good to go. So generate one more practice exam that covers all the material, or generate one more full-length practice exam in the same format of question then answer that covers the material that it covers any more material that the exam might ask questions about. This is your best guess on any surprise questions that may be asked from the information in the lecture slides. And that would be, yeah. Okay. Distinguishing between a structural change and firing change. Synaptic consolidation. A firing change involves increased sensitivity of the postsynaptic neuron. A structural change involves physical alterations. Okay. A structural change. Firing change, increased sensitivity. Structural is alteration. More receptors or new receptors for long-term storage. Okay. That intuitively makes sense. What is the suffix effect in echoic memory? The tendency for the last item in a spoken list to be forgotten if it is followed by an irrelevant spoken suffix, like the word go, which masks the auditory trace. Interesting. Okay. I definitely need to make more flashcards on these, which I will do after the exam during reading week. But yeah, that's definitely something that I need to practice, because I clearly missed a couple of things. Define reconsolidation. That is the process. I saw those first two words, but basically, that is when you are trying to remember something, and you mess with it. Reactivated, it becomes liable, unstable again, and must be restored to long-term memory storage. Yeah, okay. What are the two distinct types of codes used in short-term memory as measured by the span tasks? Visual and auditory code. Visual, acoustic, auditory, digit span, core C / visual span. Visual spatial, like the visual spatial sketchpad, the phonological loop, verbal, acoustic. And the episodic buffer does the binding. Okay, now we're making connections. Now we're getting somewhere. Name the specific subcomponents of the phonological loop. Phonological store. Okay, these I don't know. The phonological store and the articulatory rehearsal process. The inner voice. Phonological store, the inner ear that holds sound. Okay. These ones I'm going to have to work on a little bit, but I'm very glad that I asked for this. What is the reference principle in working memory tasks? The ability to maintain a goal or reference in mind while processing incoming, often distracting information. Okay, so basically, referencing effect is basically you're holding something in conscious attention while still taking in information, like daydreaming. In classical conditioning, what is extinction? That is when the CS is presented without the or the US is presented without the CS. The conditioned stimulus is repeatedly presented without the unconditioned stimulus. Okay, no, CS without US. I was right the first time. What does the reading span significantly measure compared to the digit span? Reading span is verbal. Digit span is visual. digit span measures simple storage, while reading span is a complex span task that measures simultaneous storage. I was not right at all. Okay, that's unfortunate. I'm lucky getting tired, I'm not going to lie. I don't know if you can tell, but I am getting pretty tired. So I think after this section, I'm going to... Well, no, we'll push through. Identify the near transfer. Okay, what does the reading span significantly measure? Did it span? Yeah, we already did that. Okay, identify the near transfer and one far transfer effect of working memory. Near transfer improving on a different working memory task. Far transfer improving on unrelated skills like fluid intelligence or math. Okay, so near transfer improving on a different working memory task. Improving on an unrelated skill. Okay. What is semantic priming? Example of semantic priming. Being faster to recognize the word doctor after seeing the word nurse because they... Okay. Saving score formula. I'm not going to be asked that. Original trials, relearning, minus relearning trials over original trials times 100. Yeah, these things I don't think I'm going to be asked. But it's good to know them just in case. Explain the evolutionary purpose of the phonological loop according to Baddeley. Not just remembering phone numbers, its primary evolutionary purpose is to facilitate language Yeah, I knew that. I did not. I should know that. Allowing us to hold novel sound patterns. Okay. So language learning, describe the standard model of consolidation versus memory trace theory. Standard model of consolidation. Hippocampus is only temporary. Right. Hippocampus is temporary and everything becomes fully independent versus multiple trace. Every time you recall that memory, it builds another connection to more and more things. So eventually, if one part gets damaged, it doesn't matter, you have so many other nodes. Hippocampus is always involved, yes, or treating a sodium no matter how old they are. Explain the concept of voxel-based morphometry, or MVPA, in the context of memory research. Unlike traditional fMRI, which looks at the brain area, when the brain area is active, looks at the specific pattern of activity across voxels to determine exactly what the person is remembering, a face or a house. Okay, so it's basically faces or places. Right. MVPA. Voxel-based morphometry. I'm getting excited for this exam. I actually want to take this now. Discussing the task switching role of the central executive. Oh, discuss. Wow, I'm really getting tired. Task switching role. Okay, well, the central executive is responsible for attention, so I guess it would just be like moving attention around. Coordinating resources when a person must move between different stimuli, requiring the inhibition of an old task set and the activation of a new one. Yeah, basically. Okay, but I should say task set. That's keyword, task set. Environmental evidence. Provide experimental evidence for the visuospatial sketchpad involving interference. The Corsi block task. If they performed a secondary spatial task following a moving light, performance dropped. However, if they performed a secondary verbal task, okay, right. So that's that priming is modality specific, or not priming, I guess, just interference. What's the idea that visual has got a separate system for the verbal memory and it has its own limited pool of spatial resources. Fine. Describe the Danman and Carpenter study on working memory and language. Procedure. Participants performed a reading span task. Wait. Working memory and language. Okay. Read a sentence. They had to remember the last word of each. Okay, so this is the reading span task. Oh, I just said that. Findings. Reading span scores were highly correlated with reading comprehension and ability to identify pronoun reference in complex text. Okay. So basically how much you understand shows how much you remember. So that makes sense. Working memory capacity is not just short-term memory, it is critical
Oh, suggests that working memory capacity is the critical bottleneck for high-level cognitive tasks like language processing. I'm not sure I got that from that. Let's try that again. Reading span task where they read sentences and had to remember the letters. By pronoun reference. Okay, so I guess it's just the working memory capacity is what limits your ability to learn a language because it can only handle so much information. Explain the release from proactive interference. Experiment by Wickens. Release from proactive interference. Procedure, participants memorize list of the same category. The fourth list memory dropped on the fourth trial. One group was switched to a new category, professions. The switched group showed a massive jump in recall performance. Okay. So when you're studying one thing, and you switch topics, you will then get a boost in memory because you will not be interfering. Your old memories on the same topic won't be interfering with the new memories on the same topic. If you switch topics, that's why interleaving works, because if you switch topics, you're now learning a new topic. There's no old memories yet. Okay. Switch group and a massive jump in recall performance. This demonstrates that short-term memory is sensitive to semantic meaning-based. Okay, so short-term memory is based on semantic meaning, or meaning-based categories, and interference is built up based on the similarity of the items being stored. Okay, so if you study too much of the same thing and there's too much of the same meaning, then you will have a hard time remembering. That is easy. That makes sense, and that's why I am starting to have a hard time doing this too. Now, if I were to switch subjects, I would be okay. So the takeaway from that is, and this is something that I also already know intuitively, but yeah, so interleaving is when you study multiple things per session, which allows you to connect between the topics, but it also prevents you from overloading the same meaning, the semantic short-term memory, and that will help you remember more. So I guess that's all for now. I'm pretty tired, so I don't think that going further would honestly help that much. I'm going to move back to the middle here. So yeah, that is all for today. I'm going to go to sleep. I already brushed my teeth. I'm already ready to go to bed. I'm just going to chill out for a little bit. Not going to scroll or anything like that. I want to let the new connections, that synaptic connections, synaptic consolidation work so that I can crush it tomorrow. And I intuitively understand most of the stuff now that I've read it and I've learned it. Right now it's pretty late, so I won't remember it as well, but tomorrow morning I'm going to go over it again and I will remember it much better. Then I will review it all right before I go into the exam, and I will absolutely crush the exam. So I've actually decided that I'm going to take you guys along with me for the rest of the journey through this exam. So I will see you tomorrow morning, and I'm going to take you all the way through the morning, and I won't be able to obviously record in the exam center, but once I'm done with the exam, I will give you a debrief, let you know how it went. This is going to be a very strong video in terms of showing you exactly how to prepare for an exam if you have already done the necessary work. So just a reminder, I use Anki to remember all of this stuff. This is the Anki logo. You can get the link in the description to Anki. Just go to the UofTearless website and you can download Anki. It's free. Like, it's free on desktop, so it doesn't matter. But if you want to know how I use Anki, that is explained in my full 2-hour method study system, which essentially covers everything that I do on how to study 2 hours a day. And then you can use all of these videos from the A's in an Hour series to study and try to bring it down to 1 hour a day and become as efficient as possible, like I am trying to do as well. So we're all going to try to do it together. Good night, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Peace.
The next day.
All right, good morning. It is February 10th, 2026, 6:52 a.m.
What are we going to do today? Today we are going to prepare for my midterm, and then I have lab, and then after that I have a secondary, and then I can pretty much just chill for like the rest of the day. I don't think I'll do much studying other than Anki, so I don't have that much to worry about. But one thing I do want to note is that when I am studying for like this morning, I want to take advantage of the primacy effect, not the recency effect. And the reason is because I'm going to be waiting a while from when I study to the time of the actual exam. So if you wait a while, it actually negates the recency effect, but you still get the primacy effect. So I'm going to study for this class first, the one that I have for the midterm, then I'm going to study for my other class, and then I'm going to go to the exam or probably do some short-term memory stuff just to get back that recency effect. And that is how you strategically study with the most efficiency, so you don't have to study a long time. You can just study at the right times. And so now I am pretty much just reviewing what I already know, and I'm going to go into this midterm and absolutely crush it. So I'm going to take you guys along for the ride right now. We are going to have breakfast, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to study a little bit. I don't think I'm going to make it to morning lift today just because I would have to be done with everything in 45 minutes, 40 minutes, and I don't think I can do that. So we woke up a little late today, around 6:15. That's no big deal. The exam is until 10, so I have a solid few hours, and then I can lift later this afternoon and get back on track with the rowing schedule. So with all that being said, let's go have breakfast because I am freaking hungry, and I'm probably going to have my favorite meal, which is rice and eggs with soy sauce. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend because it tastes pretty yummy. I think I've had that every morning since I was like 2. Like since I could eat food, I've pretty much had that every morning that it was accessible to me. So let's get it. So this is going to be another study with me section. You can put me on mute again. You can turn the volume all the way down and put me to the side just so you can see me studying. So it's like I'm studying there with you because we are going to get incredible grades together. Okay. So you're not in this alone. I'm right here with you. We're going to do this together. This says make school suck less right there. Okay. You can't see the bottom word, but that's okay. It's because the camera's tilted. So let's get right into studying. We are going to absolutely crush this exam. If you have a midterm coming up, I wish you the best of luck, and let's get after it.
I just finished all of the cards for PSY 372, which is the course that I'm going to be taking the midterm for. And now let's go to Gemini. Let's go to practice exam 1. Here we go. Okay, name the 3 sensory registers in the modal model of memory. Modal model. Okay, that is the auditory, visual, and no. Modal model. Oh, I can't remember. That's not good. Oh, yeah, auditory, visual, and touch. Okay. Iconic, echoic, and haptic. Iconic, echoic, and haptic. Iconic, like an eye. Echoic, haptic, hand. Oh, okay. All right. What are the 2 main dependent measures used in memory research? Accuracy and speed. But speed had a different term. It was fluency? Latency, reaction time. Okay, accuracy and latency. I gotta remember that. Okay, define savings as proposed by Ebbinghaus. That's how much faster, like the amount of time less that it takes to remember something the second time after you've learned it the first time. List the 4 lobes of the cerebral cortex: frontal, parietal, occipital, temporal. What is the typical capacity and duration of short-term memory? That is 7 plus or minus 2, 4 items in total, 15 to 30 seconds. Which brain structure is primarily responsible for non-conscious aspects of fear conditioning, the amygdala? Distinguish between a hit and false alarm. A hit is saying something when it is there. A false alarm is saying something when it's not there. List 3 types of short-term span tasks and the specific type of memory each measures. Visual span task measures visual working memory or short-term memory. The auditory span task, or the listening span task, I guess it could be reading span task, measures measures auditory memory, and then the Corsi span task measures spatial memory. Digit span is verbal. Digit span, visual span, Corsi, block span. Block span, okay. Okay, digit span, visual span, Corsi, block span. Okay, what is the Pollyanna principle regarding emotional memory? The tendency to remember positive emotions better than negative ones. Define proactive interference. That would be proactive interference. When old memories make it difficult to remember new memories. Yeah, what is the difference between liberal and conservative responder? A liberal responder is somebody who will say, is more biased towards saying things are there, or saying, like, detecting the stimulus, I guess, or the change. They have a lower B prime, and so they're more likely to say that something is there. Okay. Dual coding theory. Explain the dual coding theory and how it accounts for picture superiority effect. Okay, dual coding theory, that is when 2 modalities of encoding are better than 1, you remember it better. So visual and auditory, you automatically, with a picture, you automatically have to have a, there's a mental representation, and then there's also a verbal representation, so you remember it better. Yeah, visually and verbally. Okay. Contrast synaptic consolidation and systems consolidation in terms of time, scale, and brain development. Okay. Synaptic consolidation, that happens very quickly. It's at the neuronal level, and it what was the rest of the question? Time scale and brain development. Okay. Yeah, it happens quickly at the neuronal level, and local changes. Systems consolidation is structural reorganization. Memories, they go into from the hippocampus to the cortex, and it can take days, months, or weeks. Or yeah, weeks, months, or years. Okay. Which is across brain structures. Okay, describe Cowan's embedded process model and how it defines focus as attention. Cowan's model is long-term memory is the only thing. Attention is the regulator for what ends up in working memory. So attention as a spotlight, working memory is the only thing. Or long-term memory is the only thing. Under voluntary control, okay. I need to remember it's under voluntary control. Memory is not a separate store, but the current active portion of long-term memory. Explain Engel's inhibitory control theory and its relationship to working memory capacity. Engel's inhibitory control theory. That would be working memory is the ability to, or working memory is everything that's not inhibited. Working memory capacity is just how much you can inhibit, like how many distractions you can inhibit. And so we're limited by the number of distractions that we can inhibit, not by how much we can fit into working memory. Controlled attention is the ability to maintain goal-relevant information while actively inhibiting, yeah. Good. Okay, explain the logic and findings of Sternberg's 1966 additive factors experiment. What did the results reveal about the search process in short-term memory? Okay. Logic and Sternberg's additive. Okay, well, additive factors means there must have been more than one thing, so I'm assuming that they added things. They found that it probably takes longer. The longer something takes, the less semantically related it is. The same serial exhaustive search, check items one by one, and check the entire system. Oh, that's not at all correct, okay. Participants memorize a set of 1 to 6 and were shown probe. Serial exhaustive search. RT increased linearly with set size, reaction time. Okay. Discuss the research on artificial grammar learning. Describe the typical procedure, findings, and what the participants likely learned. Okay, so the participants were shown a bunch of different words that all had grammatical rules. They were nonsense words, but they still had grammar. They were asked to define whether these words would fit into a sentence, and then they also were able to transfer the grammatical rules to other words that were still nonsense words. It shows that implicit learning, implicit pattern recognition is separate from explicit because they couldn't say what the words were unless it was incredibly repetitive. Otherwise, they would just understand, but they wouldn't be able to articulate the rules. They're not learning abstract, complex rules. They're likely learning pattern combinations. Yeah, okay. Provide experimental evidence for the phonological loop. Describe the word length effect and how articulatory suppression influences it. Evidence for the phonological loop. Inhibiting or articulatory suppression would be one. The word length, so the longer something is The longer a word is, the longer it takes us to repeat it, and therefore the less repetition, the less repetitions we can do, which means that it's not as solidified in memory. Yes. Okay, next one. What are the 3 stages of skill acquisition? Cognitive stage, associative stage, autonomous stage. Define perceptual priming versus conceptual priming. Perceptual priming is repetitive, conceptual priming is semantic. Which subcategorical structure is specialized for encoding co-occurring events? Episodic buffer. The hippocampus. Okay. What is the total time hypothesis in procedural memory? What time is it? Okay, it is currently 9, so I have 1 hour until my exam, which means I should leave here in 40 minutes. Now it is time to execute the 1 hour pre-exam protocol. So this is what we're doing. Just going through this, gonna get some short-term memory stuff. I'm not gonna take a nap because it's very early in the morning and I don't need to, but I will be having caffeine most likely. So that'll be good. Well, actually, I don't think I need that either, to be honest. I think I'm just gonna go in and see what happens. Which subcortical structure is specialized for encoding co-occurring events in the hippocampus? What is the total time hypothesis in procedural memory? That means that there's a correlation between how long you practice something and how long and how well you remember, except that is not supported by Erickson's expert theory. List the 4 components of Baddeley's most recent working memory model. Episodic buffer, visuospatial sketchpad, central executive, and phonological loop. What does MVPA stand for in the brain imaging? No idea. Multi-voxel pattern analysis. Okay, I'm not going to be asked to define what something means on an exam, so that's okay. Name 2 methods used to measure electrical or magnetic fields in the brain. EEG, MEG. Define chunking and its effect on short-term memory. It improves short-term memory by grouping individual features or items to take up fewer slots. Into a single meaningful unit. Okay. What is latent inhibition in classical conditioning? It's harder to learn things with certain stimuli that are already known. It's harder to learn things with. Basically, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Longer to become a conditioned stimulus than novel stimulus. Yeah, okay. Is motivation more critical for explicit or implicit memory? That's definitely explicit. Describe the mere exposure effect. We care more about things when things are more frequently presented. Compare subtractive factors logic and additive factors logic. Subtractive factors logic is used, or is when you subtract the new thing, the old time from the new time to determine how long it took to do the next task, like the difference in time. I need to know how to articulate that better. Subtractive factors logic is used to determine how long each additional task takes. Additional task takes, whereas additive factors logic is used to see how long each task takes individually. Additive factors logic. Actually, I'm not sure. I don't remember. But subtractive factors logic is used for free recall, whereas additive factors logic is used for serial recall. Load of a stage to see if the stages occur in a serial or parallel. Yeah, additive is serial. I can't remember if I said that or not. Subtractive, yeah, subtractive is free recall. Additive is serial. Okay, assumes you can isolate a mental process by subtracting the reaction time of a simple task from a more complex one. Manipulates the load of a stage to see if the stage occurs in a serial or parallel sequence based on the pattern of RT increases. Right, okay. To see if the stage occurs in a serial or parallel. Like adding more items onto the end of a list, I guess. Okay, additive, adding more. Cool, I can remember that. Okay, describe the role of the central executive in battling these. Oh, that is well, the SAS, the supervisory attentional system, is responsible for controlling action when automatic processes aren't appropriate. That would be the central executive in working memory that is responsible for determining which components or what information is going to be taken in and addressed. It interacts with intervenes when automatic processes are insufficient, such as during test switching or conflict resolution. Okay. Explain the binding problem and how the episodic buffer was originally thought to solve it. Well, the episodic buffer was thought to bind information from the phonological loop and the visuospatial sketchpad, but we didn't understand how we could take in information as a whole. We just knew that we could take in the individual components, and so the episodic buffer was thought to solve that problem, but it did not. Discuss the total time hypothesis and its limitations regarding deliberate practice. Yeah, that is, we talked about that already. Section 3, describe the experiment with Luck and Vogel regarding the capacity of the visuospatial sketchpad. The visuospatial sketchpad can hold 4 items, not just features. Luck and Vogel had a change detection task where people would remember the number of items that were different. Accuracy was high for up to 4 objects, regardless of how many features the object had. Stored integrated objects, not individual features. Discuss the evidence for the episodic buffer and binding. I'm not sure for this one. Testing of binding color and shape together require more attention / executive resources than remembering features alone. And shape together while require alone. The secondary distractor task impaired memory for features and bound objects to the same degree. This suggests binding as passive process doesn't require the central executive. Okay. Secondary distractor task impaired memory for features and bound objects at the same degree. Passive process doesn't require central executive. Okay. Explain the Woe and Norman study on forgetting and short-term memory. Don't know that one. Participants heard a list of 16 digits, either fast or slow rate. Oh, right, and it had no effect on recall. Recall dropped as more items interference were placed between the target and the probe. So it's interference over decay. Okay. Forgetting in memory. Okay. Interference matters more than decay. So for this one, episodic buffer binding, it's a passive process. Interference matters more than decay. Passive process, interference matters more than decay. Okay. Nice. You can get probably most of the points now. Let's answer this one. Okay, distinguish between a structural change and a firing change. A structural change is when there are more, versus firing change, which is more sensitive. Sensitivity to post-noun, yeah. What is the suffix effect in echoic memory? If you repeat another thing that says like go after the end of a list, then it will negate the recency effect. Define reconsolidation. When you recall a memory, it becomes unreliable or malleable and fallible, and it needs to reconsolidate into memory, but it can be influenced. What are the two distinct types of codes used in short-term memory as measured by the span task? Auditory and visual, and verbal? No, auditory. Yeah, I'm not sure. Verbal, yeah, verbal and visual spatial. Okay, gotta remember that. Oh, my light just went out. I gotta charge that. Okay. Change in the firing, change in synaptic consolidation. Oh, we already did that. Okay, what are the two distinct types of codes? Let's see if I remember that already. That was, oh, my hips are tight. Verbal, auditory, and visual spatial. Name the significant subcomponents of the phonological loop. Oh gosh. Don't know. Phonological store and articulatory rehearsal process. Fresh as a trace. Okay. The storage. All right. What is the interference principle in working memory tasks? I guess just more information interfering. Oh, reference principle. A reference. What am I saying? Okay, that is when you learn something of one topic a lot, working memory gets full, but then if you switch to another topic, there's not as much reference, not as much retroactive interference, and so you can learn better again. Oh, no. Okay, reference principle and working memory. What is extinction? Then the CS is presented with the C or US. What does the reading span specifically measure compared to the digit span? Reading span is verbal short-term memory versus digit span, which is visual. Oh, no, it's complex. Okay. Reference principle, keeping something in mind. Subcomponents, the store, phonological store, and articulatory rehearsal process. Okay. Classical conditioning, the gradual weakening and disappearance of the response. Okay, and let's go back up to the other two. That was that working memory is, or that binding is implicit
And I can't remember what the question was. Evidence for episodic buffer and binding. Yeah, binding is implicit. Explain the study on forgetting in short-term memory. Forgetting is due to interference. Components phonologically, yeah, okay. Reference principle in working memory task, the ability to maintain goal. Class question, what is extinction? CS, or presented with the US, without the US. What does reading span specifically measure compared to digit span? I guess it's, yeah. Simple storage versus complex span task that measures simultaneous storage and processing working memory. Identify one near transfer and one far transfer effect of working memory training. One far transfer effect of working memory training. Effect. I'm not sure. Improving on a different working memory task. Far transfer, improving on unrelated skills like fluid intelligence or math, which research suggests is near transfer, right? Okay, different working memory versus unrelated skill. Semantic priming example, yeah, doctor, nurse, what is a saving score? Yeah, original child's menace. Okay, that I know. Okay, I can tell I'm getting kind of tired here. You can see if you're going really hard while studying, you actually can't hold it for very long. So I'm gonna take a break. I'm going to probably eat something, and then I'm gonna come back, finish the rest of this, which is only like a couple more things. Actually, I'll just read over it. Explain the evolutionary process of the phonological loop, language acquisition, yeah, okay. Standard consolidation, okay, that I know for sure. I've done that in multiple classes. Instead of voxel-based morphometry. Determine exactly what the person is remembering. Okay. What the person is remembering. Discuss the task switching role of central executive. Central executive is responsible for coordinating resources when a person must move between different rules or maintain sets requiring the inhibition of an old task set and the activation of a new one. Provide experimental evidence for the various uses of sketchpad. Where's the other thing? Why is secretary from the task performance remained high? Specific interference. Just for a reading span. Which one was reading span? Yeah. Digit span is simple, reading span is complex. Okay, that's the one I know. Release from proactive interference. Okay, so I've pretty much gone over all of this. I can go through it again right before I get into the exam, but for now, I'm going to stop this recording here. So, yeah, that's pretty good. Right now, I'm just going to go through the actual practice exam. I can't show that because it's copyright. Now that we are done, I am going to go eat some food, have my pre-exam drink, which is basically my pre-workout stuff, plus a little bit of caffeine and L-theanine. And so I need glucose, I need to be hydrated, get some water. Literally, basically liquid IQ. Yeah, and then I'm just going to go to the exam and I'm going to absolutely crush this thing. So I need to make sure that I have all of my materials though. So when I go in, let's see, I need my pen. How much ink does my pen have in it right now? This is my favorite pen. It's called the Peacock pen. It's from Amazon, actually. I have a lot of like fancy pens, but this one is this one was not fancy. It was like $25 or something maybe, which is like a lot for a pen, but it does look very nice. So it might have been cheaper actually. It might have been like 15 bucks. Yeah. Okay, so that has ink in it. I'm going to need my pencils just in case. Which I have right here. And then, so this is mechanical pencils, always bring mechanical pencils, and an eraser. And then I just need my computer, and then I will be done. Okay, so we are headed to the exam center, and I actually have a ritual where I listen to a specific video. It is kind of like a meditative thing, but it gets me in the right headspace to take the exam. So I will link the video in the description if you are also preparing for your exam. Listen to it 1 hour before. I like to listen to it as I'm walking to the exam center. So that is pretty much it for now. I will check in with you guys one more time when I'm in the exam center, but I kind of have to focus up and get into the right headspace right now. So talk to you later. All right, we made it. We are climbing up the forbidden staircase up to my destiny. So I'm ready. I'm good to go. I am currently like 6-7 minutes early, which is good. And I am looking forward to doing really well in this exam. So I'll see you afterwards. Peace out. Wish me luck and good luck on yours. No rest for the weary. We just got out of the exam and now apparently there's class afterwards. So I'm running over to class and then I have lab straight after that. So yeah, I don't know, maybe I'll grab a bite to eat or something between that, but I'll talk to you guys afterwards. I'll do the debrief later. So apparently I showed up to class and there's nobody here, which is kind of mean, but whatever. I guess I'm just 20 minutes early to my next class. It's not right here, but it's just downstairs. So let's talk about the exam. So this exam, it was like 2.5 hours. I think I finished in about an hour 45, something like that. And it went really, really well. I'm actually quite happy with it, but there was one question where I just like abysmally educated guessed, which was, you know, that's to be expected, probably one. It was 4 points, it's out of 60, so, you know, 1/15, it's not too bad. That's like, let's see, what would be that, it's like 6.5% if I got 0 points on it. So yeah, that's not too much. That would knock me on like a 94. And then there was one other I think I got wrong, which was worth 2 points, so that would be another 3%. So I'm guessing around like an 85, 86-ish on this exam. Most of the stuff was actually like almost word for word exactly what was on the Gemini practice quizzes, and a couple of the questions were from the actual exam prep that she sent out in the course. So I felt very prepared. I think this was a really good test. I have one more on Thursday, which I am going to prepare for probably later today or tomorrow. And that's pretty much it. That's how you prepare for an exam in just
one day and still crush it. So I hope this gives you some insight into what it's like to actually be an efficient student, when to study, what to do. You know, a lot of people that just reread notes, rewatch lectures. If I did that, I would get like a 40. So it is just not a good way to study because it doesn't actually force you to engage. If you saw in my practice, I was actually saying the words out loud. You get a boost in memory by recruiting the motor muscles. So you're not just encoding it visually and verbally, but also with your, with motor neurons. So you get that extra boost. It's like another 50% boost in memory. It's not actually that, but like you get what I point. Like, the ratio is basically an extra 50%. So yeah, I think that this is valuable information for you to have, especially because midterms for most of us are right here. So I'm going to try to get this video edited as quickly as possible, get it right to you. And one more thing before I go, if you want to know exactly how to prepare to be able to do that, then my full video series is on my website. You can access it using the link below in the description at UofTearless.com. And it is called the 2-Hour Method video series. I know that that is going to drastically improve the quality of your life, as it did for me. It's literally everything that I did to be able to get here to this point and to be able to teach all of you. So this is my way of letting you guys in on everything that I've learned so that you don't have to go find it yourself, because it took me 3 years to do that and 3 years of actively trying. And that is a long, long time, so I don't want you to suffer. So with that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your day, a great midterm season. I will be posting more videos with even more information to help you absolutely crush it. So be sure to subscribe right now so you don't miss any more of my videos. And I will see you in the next one, because if I don't see you in the next one, I'm gonna be mad. See you later.